Okay, so things are really starting to heat up here on Alternative Factors, along with what we merely call spring here in Australia. Fortunately, things have not literally been heating up in the studio, as it turns out I was right about that fire alarm not being the real deal. And was later informed that the original show ran for 26 seasons. Shut up.
Evacuation system. Please respond.
Come on. I'll give you a response, damn it! Now, where was I? It is odd, however, that they would schedule such a thing for the middle of my usual recording session, and I will be getting to the bottom of this. Anyway, on to what we really came here for. Gorillagate. In previous installments, I had talked about how Harambe's death and the 2016 firestorm had been orchestrated by the international communist conspiracy in an insidious ploy to split the West apart through isolationist politics. We've looked at the rivalry between the communists and the globalists, two factions that have anything but our best interests at heart, and how things have been going south. So for a change of pace, let us also go south of the border and take a look at where the relentless advance of the Red Menace had faltered in a major tactical error that I refer to as the Bantu Blunder. So, on the 7th of July 2016, a 25-year-old resident of Mexico City's Chapultepec Zoo, known as Bantu the Gorilla, was sedated for a transfer to Guadalajara for breeding. Unfortunately, Bantu suffered a heart attack and did not wake up. Now, at first I thought this was just a coincidence that this would happen less than 2 months after Harambe's passing, but as I started doing my own research into Gorillagate, and I found out that Harambe's father, Moja, had also passed away from unexpected heart problems, well, in my experience, there's no such thing as a coincidence. Now, why would the communists kill a gorilla down in Mexico, I hear you ask? Because isolating the West is the aim of the game. The deaths of Harambe and his family were enough to destabilize the Western world and get the electoral results they wanted, but not enough to get that wall built and paid for by Mexico. I mean, representing isolation in its purest form, the communists wanted to get that wall built like they did back in Berlin. But Trump's promise of how it would be financed was such a tall order that they had to try the same trick over there by killing the only male gorilla in the country. However, this would go on to blow up in their faces. It was initially believed that the sedatives involved were responsible, until the former director of Chapultepec Zoo came out and debunked this, stating that Bantu weighed 224 kilos, and we considered a dose of anesthesia for 200 kilos. The dose was much smaller than what it should have been. Furthermore, the team of vets, doctors, zookeepers, etc. that attended to him consisted of over 20 people, when Bantu was used to only being handled by 4, putting extra stress on the unfortunate gorilla. And it was discovered that in an attempt to revive him, he had been administered the antidote twice, making it less likely that he couldn't handle his sedatives and more likely that he was deliberately given an overdose. I mean, how do you make that kind of mistake when there are over 20 people attending to this creature? In fact, the previously quoted zoo director went on to say, "It is ridiculous that this transfer to the Guadalajara Zoo was supposed to be planned 1 year in advance, and that so many anomalies happened that resulted in the death of this ape. So ridiculous, in fact, that the Human Rights Commission of Mexico was called in. Not only does the fact that this was considered a human rights violation support my growing theory that Bantu was one of the renegade gorilla-human hybrids that I talked about in parts 3 and 4, but their investigation was very thorough. So thorough, in fact, that this next graphic is going to be, well, a little graphic. Viewers who are squeamish or eating right now have 5 seconds to scroll down, change tabs, minimize this, or otherwise look away. We good? Because here are images from Bantu's autopsy that was described as butchery. Say what you will about Mexicans, but this goes to show that they do not mess around. Alright? It's safe for the rest of you to come back now. Only they can say the full extent of what their investigation revealed, but the mere act put enough of a scare into the communists to stop these bad hombres dead in their tracks and make them abandon this venture. And that, my friends, is the story of the Bantu blunder, and how Mexico basically saved the world instead of paying for the wall. The lesson here is that communism is a flawed system, and all it takes to beat them is constant vigilance. I'm Connor O'Loughlin, and this is Alternative Factors. Until next time, stay woke, people.